how do I explain it? It's the difference between 24 seconds and 24 seconds. 16 men and 16 men. You'll know it when you see it. Yeah, you'll know when you see it. It's what keeps us coming back for more, and for more, and for even more. Energy, this energy, is what makes beginners feel like an opportunity for greatness.
THT blocked by Howard. Bazemore's having himself a game. Monk's got another one. Russell Westbrook. DJ slam it home. Rajon Rondo. Carmelo. Yes, sir. LeBron spinning, scoring. Reeves. Count it, baby. Good play. Wayne Ellington. The scoop and the score by Kendrick Nunn. Throw it down, Anthony Davis.
Howdy, y'all. So this is actually a two-part podcast. In the first part, I talk about the first game versus the Warriors that I was lucky enough to go to. And then at the end, I talk about the Suns game and the altercation between Dwight and Anthony Davis and overall, just my thoughts. And I'll go over some stats too, perhaps. But when I say in the first section that, let's beat the Suns tomorrow, you can ignore that because I talk about it in the next part. So thanks for listening, and here is both segments. Take care, and let's go Lakers. Shalom, and welcome back to a new year of Lakeshow's finest. This is not the Redux. This is just Lakeshow's finest. This is the 7th year I've been doing this. No, 8th year I've been doing this podcast / YouTube channel thing, and it's been on my channel for about 4 years. And of course, the last 2 years have been tough for everybody, and they really have blended together somehow. It's been March 2020. Everything shut down. I went to that Knicks Jazz game in New York, and then 4 days later, Rudy Gobert gets the COVID, and everything got screwed up. But it's ironic seeing the Jazz first. But this is a new year. I'm Charles Ryan, KB24 status, or yours truly, the biggest Lakers fan in the world. I would like to thank you, yes you, for hitting 1 million views last week. Of course, somehow my subscriber to view count ratio is literally not, you can't even explain it. 1,600 subscribers and 1 million views. I don't need to do the math on that one, but that just sucks. So the Los Angeles Lakers lost to the Golden State Warriors. I was lucky enough to go to the game, and the atmosphere was insane. I'm probably going to have some video before this of me there. I went with my pops, but it's very interesting seeing a new team, a brand new roster. They only brought back 3 players? AD, LeBron, and Taylor. Am I wrong about that? I guess technically it's more if you want to count Rondo and Dwight. But I'm pretty sure it was just LeBron, AD, and Taylor that returned from last year's squad. And a lot of those players are out of the league. Wes Matthews is out of the league. Who else? Doesn't matter. The point is I went to the game, and I hope you guys all watched it, and it was a great game. I am ashamed to say it, but I did leave about 1 minute and 30 seconds early. As soon as the Warriors went up by 10 or whatever, I just was gone. But I had pretty good seats, and I wish you guys all watched it. I wish you guys were all there, whoever listening to this right now. I posted 5 videos since the start of preseason. I think they average a few thousand per. I don't know how well this podcast is going to be or YouTube podcast, whatever it is. I'm not posting this on Spotify or iTunes again, so it's just YouTube. And I don't know if it'll be the same count as those 3 or 4 minute montages, because of course when you do a podcast you talk longer. But hopefully I get this same view count as the last one where I burned Kyle Kuzma's jersey and I have 10,000, 12,000 views, which translates to, yeah, you guessed it, $1.20. But back to the Lakers. I digress. I'll give you my first general impressions. This is going to be a pretty loose podcast and not that specific. I know I'm posting this a day late or two, but my first impressions of this team is we're really good. And even though we lost, and somehow the Warriors beat the Clippers tonight as well, and of course Kawhi didn't play, but the Clippers have firepower regardless, and the Warriors, they don't have much without Klay. The difference in the game, of course, was Bjelica, the tall white guy who's bounced around the league, Kings, wherever else he's been. But when he got that flagrant one on LeBron in the fourth, and he grabbed his neck, I honestly thought it would be a 2, and I was even yelling from my seats. I was like, "That's got to be a 2," and the Warriors got a break. And it was a 1, and then Bjelica really just, not Steph Curry, not Draymond Green, it was all Bjelica in that fourth quarter. And I didn't watch too much of the Warriors-Clippers game tonight, but it seemed Bjelica was also doing work, and I haven't even looked at the stats of that game. So that was the difference in the game. I don't think the game matters, honestly. I think Vogel was treating this as another type of sort of feeler-out preseason game, and I really do think Vogel underestimated the Warriors, because if you're going to put Avery Bradley in the fourth quarter and not the whole game, that's just confusing, because it's not like he doesn't know who Avery Bradley is. We did have him for a whole year and wanted to ring with him, even though he did not travel for the bubble. But it's clear that Avery Bradley will now play more. I don't know how his conditioning is. The Warriors did cut him. I don't know why. I mean, there was reports, and I take all these reports with a grain of salt on Bleacher Report, ESPN, Twitter, but that Draymond and Steph really wanted to keep Avery, because of course Avery's a vet, on the Celtics for 8-9 years. But it was clear he was experimenting, and I really enjoyed his experimenting. I loved it. Lakers were up big at some points, and it fluctuated, whatever. Let's see what Melo can do. Melo had ISOs on Wiggins. And so did Davis. Davis would get switched to a guard, and he'd have ISOs, and they have to clear out the court for Davis and then just wait for LeBron James or Russell Westbrook to dive down there. And I don't want to talk too much about Westbrook because it is just one game, and LeBron's comments after the game were like, he said he told Russell to go home and watch a comedy and just relax. It's one game. And he thought that Westbrook might have had the jitters. And I was there in person, and he definitely did have the jitters. He was very hesitant. But that's okay. There'll definitely be points throughout the season where he rests one of the big three, and I doubt it'll be Westbrook for any of them, naturally, unless he gets hurt, and he'll take over then. But we don't need Russell Westbrook to get triple doubles. I remember, I don't know if I posted this, but there's a stat like the last 10 years or some odd years, LeBron, Westbrook, and Rondo have averaged the most assists in the league the majority of those years, which is nuts. And that's great. He doesn't need to average a triple-double. His usage will obviously be way significantly less. But this team is about giving and finding the open man and moving the ball and defense. This team is not shoot first. This team is, let's put the ball in LeBron's hands. Let's put the ball in Anthony Davis and clear out. Let's find the wide open spot up shooter Melo. Malik Monk, I was yelling for the whole entire game. I was the only one in the stands that even probably knows who Malik Monk is. I'm joking, but he had so many open looks that he just missed. But this is what's going to happen, man. We're going to have all these spot-up shooters. Avery can shoot. Of course, Monk can shoot. Melo can shoot. Melo's thing is spot-up shoot. He doesn't need to do his pull-up shoot. So I'm really excited. I can't wait for the game tomorrow. I believe they play the Suns. That's great. That's a great matchup for us. Try to get some payback from the playoffs, and of course we'll have AD this game. Unlike the back end when he got hurt in the playoffs. But I'm just excited. I really am. I think this season is going to be one of the most, even if they don't win the championship, which I do think they will go deep and possibly win it, especially now that the Nets don't even have Kyrie, it looks like, for the whole season. I do think this will be one of the most exciting seasons ever. There's so much star power, Hall of Famers, Just so much going on with this team all at once. Like Westbrook's releasing a documentary. Melo's one of the great. I think Melo made a book. I don't know. Just there's a lot of personalities, and I love it. And I would highly recommend, watching most of the players' post-game press conferences, because they all have their own thing. And it's very interesting how Westbrook is more friendly with the Lakers media, and I think versus the Thunder media or Rockets media. And I think it's because he knows he's not the man, and he loves it. He loves being home, and you can tell the guy is in a different headspace, different mindset. And I noticed that with Eric Bledsoe too tonight. Eric Bledsoe was, of course, I think Eric Bledsoe went to Kentucky, but of course he was drafted by the Clippers and played really well, and then was traded to the Suns, I want to say. And then it was the three-headed monster, him, Isaiah, and Isaiah Thomas. But when he never was as good as he was on the Clippers, and tonight he played really well. I was actually thinking about getting him in fantasy, but I think I'm going to stay away, even though he played well. But being home, and of course, I'm not even sure if Bledsoe's from LA, but there's something about being home with your family, or where you grew up, or where you were drafted, and being on a winning team. Because how do you think Eric Bledsoe feels? I know I'm talking about the Clippers right now, but just putting your mind there, where the guy gets traded from the Bucks for Jrue Holiday, and that team that just traded you away wins a championship. That's like the Washington Nationals getting rid of Harper, letting him walk to the Phillies, and the Nationals winning the World Series the next season or pretty close after. So I don't know if he has something to prove, Bledsoe, but Westbrook does nothing to prove, and he was definitely in person. I saw it. He was hesitant, and that's okay. It's good. It's good to have rough patches early, and I don't think it's a rough patch. I think this is super minor, but you could tell there's so many options. I'm not sure why Kendrick Nunn did not play, and maybe there's an undisclosed injury, but Kendrick Nunn can ball, and we all saw Kendrick Nunn ball in the finals 2 years ago against us, the master of none. But I think he's just experimenting, and I guess Wayne Ellington's hurt. He was in street clothes, and of course there's another guy that can just spot up. Like, it's okay that some of the guys are older. Like Trevor Ariza didn't play. All they got to do is just defend and camp in a corner and wait for the ball to come. That's essentially what the Warriors do, or did, with their role players. Just find the open man. But yeah, I actually predicted. It's interesting. I have a friend, and I predicted. He asked me, "Who do you think the Lakers will get?" And I said, "Malik Monk would be great." And then he laughed, and then we got him. As soon as Avery was waived by the Warriors, I said, we should get Avery Bradley back, because of course he knows our system already and what Vogel's trying to do. And right away we got him. We just pounced, and we picked up a guy. I don't even know his name. That's how brief his stint is. We picked up a guy to replace Talon. And I guess that guy was sent to the G League, or he was cut or whatever, to the South Bay Lakers. But yeah, we pounced on that guy. So we're experimenting. Excuse me. Sorry about that. And it was just very fun to watch. It really was. I know I keep repeating this, but I'm so excited for this season. I think this might be more exciting in terms of an outlook than the championship season. In terms of like who we have and all the options, and how it's very clear this team there's no egos on this team. It's very easy for LeBron to have a massive ego and just be a jerk. But there are players on the team, obviously, they're just as good as him or better at certain skill sets on the court. And there's mad respect there. And everybody seems pretty selfless. And then when your best friend in the world is with you all the time, Carmelo Anthony, on a plane with you, partying with you, doing what you want, that must make things feel pretty good for him. I don't know. I guess I should talk about the future. So we play the Suns. That should be fun. But what's up with this Kendrick Nunn thing? Well, what was the point of getting if he's going to get a DMP CD? Maybe I did overlook an injury. Maybe there was an injury reported, but I don't think so. I think we got to play him more. I think Monk needs to play. I think Monk needs to start over Kent Bazemore. Kent Bazemore can defend, but I don't know. I love Malik Monk. And for you longtime listeners who have stuck with me at the beginning, let me tell you, I raved about Malik Monk. But I would always bring it up in the context of I listened to Bill Simmons, the Celtics Boston sports guy, and his podcast. I listened to it since, the BS Report, which was like 2008 or something on ESPN. And he would rave about Malik Monk. And, of course, Monk wasn't a Celtic. He was on the Hornets. But when Monk would have these, spot games where he'll have 11 points and 12 points, and all of a sudden he'll have a game where he drops 33, it's that's untapped potential. And he's young. He's 22, 23, 24. So there's a lot of growing to do. And it doesn't hurt having Rondo and LeBron and all these vets helping him out too. Not to mention all the coaches. Got some great new coaches with Fizdale and you name it. Unfortunately, we got rid of Lionel Hollins, and of course we lost Jason Kidd. But that guy is not unlocked yet. That guy is going to be really good. And I mean, maybe most improved player, really good. And it's hard to do that on the Lakers, because there's so much firepower. But this guy has six-man potential if he's going to come off the bench. Six-man of the year potential for sure. I do like Bazemore starting, but I'd prefer Monk. But Monk coming off the bench playing 20, 25, 30 minutes I think is great. In the Clipper game tonight, I actually do have Terrence Mann. And Terrence Mann played 40 minutes off the bench tonight. He led the Clippers in minutes. So I'm not saying Malik Monk is going to be like that, but I think some games he could play up to 35, 40 minutes because he's just that good. I don't know how great of a defender he is. I don't really watch the Hornets that much. But this guy is a three-point assassin. And he can do everything off the dribble, this, that, and it doesn't hurt when you got those three passers I mentioned before trying to find you. And then it was interesting how he Vogel tried to fit in Rondo, because it seemed that whenever he take out LeBron, he'd want a primary ball handler on the court. He wants a primary ball handler on the court at all times. That's Westbrook, Rondo, and LeBron, right? So you can sit Westbrook and LeBron and have Rondo in there, a floor general. But it's very important when Rondo is in there to have someone like Monk in there too. And I'll be honest, I did have a beverage or two at the game, an adult beverage. But I don't think Monk was in the game a lot when Rondo was. And I think, of course, Rondo's pass first. Naturally, LeBron's semi-pass first, but Rondo will find him. And Monk was found. He was missing wide-open threes while Andre Iguodala was making them somehow. And I don't know. I just have a soft spot for the guy. I think this season he'll be great. I really do. So, yeah, we play the Suns. This is going to be a shorter podcast, maybe 20 minutes or so. I didn't do a preseason podcast because I never do that, but I did some preseason videos. If you watch them, thank you. I worked pretty hard on them, and I try to pay my respects to Kobe, Semi, and some of them. But yeah, it's time to let the guy rest and not focus too much on Kobe. But then again, the name of the channel is Kobe KB24 status, but yep, that's what it is. So, thank you very much for listening. Once again, I'm KB24 status. Charles Ryan, the biggest Lakers fan in the world. And watch out, because this season is going to be a blast. Thanks for listening, and let's get this Phoenix Suns win tomorrow. Have a good night, and stay safe. Bye. And we're on to the next segment. This will be brief and short because this game was essentially pointless. And I think there's a lot of growing here. It's okay to have early losses. We're 0-8 if you include the preseason. Who cares about the preseason, right? Half the time they weren't playing all the guys, and at the end they were looking at the Exhibit 10 contract players to see if they would sign them. But you know what? We're 0-2. We played two really good teams. The Warriors are going to be scary when Klay Thompson comes back. And the Suns are the Suns, It's not like they got worse. And, we need time to smooth out things. And when we play these sub-500 teams, I guarantee you we will kick their ass. Because LeBron knows how to beat every single team. But when you start your first two games against legitimate teams, it's not that bad. I love this. I love the Dwight Howard, Anthony Davis squabble. It obviously shows that they're passionate and they care and they want to get stuff right. And I'm sure if in practice tomorrow or whenever their next practice is, when they look at film or whatever, they're going to make up. But it doesn't matter if they make up or not. In practice, they're going to go hard at each other. Who knows? The point is it's great and it helps. And even Carmelo Anthony said, I remember vividly in Carmelo Anthony's opening presser on Media Day, he said, there'll be bumps in the roads and there'll be issues and we'll bump heads, but it'll be good. And I agree. It's great. I loved it on the bench when Dwight and Anthony got in their faces because it's not like this is a new relationship. They won a championship together 2 years ago. They can give each other shit. Excuse my language. LeBron and AD hold each other accountable. And I think Dwight is held accountable in a different way because Dwight's all happy-go-lucky and he kind of just gets in your grill. And Dwight's job on the floor is basically to piss people off and get under their skin. And I love it. Even when he was on the Sixers and we played them twice because they were an Eastern Conference team, both of those times I was so thrilled that Dwight got thrown out in at least one of those, but it might have been both. But he was pissing off Montrezl Harrell, and Montrezl Harrell wasn't having it, and then Dwight got ejected. And ironically, I remember the Sixers did a back-to-back against the Clippers and the Lakers when they were on a road game, and Dwight also got ejected versus the Clippers. So his job is to get on your skin, yada, yada, yada. He did get snubbed from the 75 anniversary team. I mean, what other credentials do you need, really? I mean, NBA champion, defensive player of the year, dunk champion, rebound champion, whatever it is. And yeah, I just think that we're capable of going far. And Dwight is a huge piece of that, and I just do like that infighting. It's great. It shows they care. Because I know, as Laker fans, there's this famous saying that I learned. I guess I should have mentioned this off the bat. I graduated from NYU with a major in sports management, and there's this dude named Peter Drucker. Doesn't really matter, irrelevant. Like, no way anybody would really know him. But he has a saying that is culture eats strategy for breakfast. And teams like the Spurs have, created a great culture. The Lakers, throughout most of their history in Los Angeles, since like 1960 when they moved here, and especially when Jerry Buss acquired the team, probably the greatest owner of all time in any sport, created a culture. And once we got rid of Mitch Kupchak and after Kobe left and we got Rob Pelinka, there's this new culture here that is emphasized on defense and the whole 9 yards. But there's teams like the Kings or the Hornets who they have a great strategy, they have great players. The Hawks, they have great players. I mean, the Kings have Hield, Fox, Halliburton, Bagley. Teams like the Grizzlies have Jalen Jackson Jr., Ja Morant, Steven Adams. There's teams with lots of firepower, but the culture isn't there. The players don't buy in. And I think the best example, we know this. The Sacramento Kings and Lakers have a very strong history of the last, 20, 30 years. The Vlade Divac days and, the Doug Christie and the Mike Bibby days. And ever since that, because they haven't made the playoffs since, I don't think, like 2004 or something, when Peja left or whatever, players don't buy in. I think this new owner on the Kings sucks, but a perfect example is Buddy Hield. He has not bought into the system. He doesn't care, and it trickles down, and we are in a position of, let's get the best players, let's create this culture, let's build around the greatest player in the world, second greatest player of all time, and they buy in. And I think a huge reason they buy in is for players like Dwight. Because even though Dwight may be happy-go-lucky, whatever, he has tons of experience. He's already friends with all these guys anyways. I mean, how many Olympic teams was Dwight on with Melo? How many times has he faced off against Melo? And LeBron and Westbrook, they all know each other, so it's not like they're actually mad at each other. They're holding each other accountable. I mean, Anthony Davis has been in the league since 2011, and he probably has played games against Dwight Howard 100 times with him on the Lakers, 80, 90 times. So, I like it. The game itself was weird. I don't really watch the post-game or the pre-game, but Mike Trudell does a little, soliloquy right before the game starts, after Stu Lance and Bill McDonald, go through the introductions. And Mike Trudell was like, Frank Vogel was emphasizing the fact that we need to finish quarters. And the Lakers finished the first quarter great. But then the other 3 quarters, they just couldn't do anything. And I think at one point they may have been down by 30. I just stopped paying attention, really. But I did like how we were down by a huge margin, and we still stuck with our guys. We didn't give in, play the bench players, play Austin Reeves, or I don't know if even Trevor Ariza was suited up. But I do like that. And it's only a second game, so there's no reason to do that. But, we did make a push, and that's what counts, right? They didn't give in. They tried to come back. They made some progress, and they got to 12, 10, or 11 when it was 25 or 30, whatever. That's great. So there's definitely a great mentality on this team. I don't want to make this one too long because I know I'm attaching it to the previous one, which recapped the Warriors game. I'm sorry that this is coming out late. I went to the Warriors game, and then I guess I had an injury, I hurt my ankle, so things were a bit delayed. But this is a 2-for-1 combo meal. Thank you so much for listening. I posted 5 or 6 montage videos prior to the season. It's amazing how they have a lot of views. But I hope this maintains because, when I post a 3 or 4 or 5 minute montage, it's one thing. But then when I post a 30-minute podcast, the views aren't as high. And that's okay. I have had, when the Lakers won their championship, that podcast says 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. So that's nice. But I hope it sticks. I know people listening to a podcast this long may not, YouTube podcasts, whatever, may not be as engaged to listen to this long, but this is what I've been doing for 6 years, on this channel 4 years. So thank you so much for listening once again. Have a great night. Go Lakers, and we better win our next game. We are not losing 3 games in a row in the start of the season. No freaking way. All right, take care and peace.